All right, so you want to talk Joker?
I mean, to talk about Birds of Prey.
We're going to preface this with 2 warnings. 1, this is going to go way too deep and way too long. And 2, we're going to spoil this.
Yeah, this
is pretty hardcore.
A spoiler discussion.
So consider yourself warned.
So since the last episode, I mean, there was all this drama leading up to the film.
Yes.
There were people writing all these smear pieces. They were dogging Joaquin Phoenix in interviews, getting him to
how
walk
dare
out.
you?
Yeah,
they were trying to put the violence on them.
There's always a certain amount of controversy that you have to have around the Joker.
Well,
you know,
yes.
there's the whole Heath Ledger dying before the movie comes out. You know, there's
a lot of people. I remember when they even just saw the picture of Heath, they thought it was going to be just trash. Remember, like there was people that are like,
remember when Heath Ledger was originally announced as, and everyone was like, 10 things I hate about you, A Knight's Tale.
Yeah,
what the f is he thinking?
Hey, don't dog
Did you guys hear about the fake warnings that people were putting up? Did you guys see any of that on Twitter? So people were going to early showings and putting up stuff like any single guy won't be admitted into the theater.
Oh wow!
If you look like a creep, you won't be admitted. Like, and they were just putting up fake notices to make fun of the fact that there's all this controversy.
So for
and drama.
those that don't know, I mean, all the controversy is that there were people that were worried that the character of the Joker was going to inspire people, specifically white incels, to commit violence.
After it's Dark Knight Rises, there was a shooting in Colorado. Aurora, yeah, and the guy said he was the Joker, like the shooter. Yeah. Like later after he was caught, he said he was the Joker.
And so actually, some of this controversy was actually coming as a result of some of the victims from the Aurora shooting.
Their families.
As they were speaking out on this film. And so
they were calling out Warner Brothers, demanding all kinds of stuff.
That happened. We saw the film.
None of us got shot.
None of us got shot.
So we were going to go see it early.
Oh, we didn't even bring that up.
We were going to go see it early.
We had tickets to the press screening.
I got work off.
Yeah, I had to rewrite the schedule for you.
We aligned the planets.
Yeah. And then
we get a email from one of the studio reps, saying that the screening was canceled
for non-press due to security reasons. Everybody panicked, and they didn't want anybody that wasn't the press there, and they did that all over. The actual premiere, they only allowed photographers. They didn't allow any press because they're like, we are sick of talking about this movie. We're sick of the questions. We're sick of the comments. We want this movie to speak for itself. Mm-hmm. So, what was everybody so scared of?
I get it.
I think I know.
I think you and I are on the same on this. What do you think, Matt?
I understand the mindset that people can get in where they just want to protect the children, you know. Think of the children, you know. And when
think of our super woke selves.
Yeah, when you see something that like evokes that kind of emotion that this kind of movie can, like just seeing that kind of violence, you know, seeing someone that disturbed on the screen for so long and kind of seeing them kind of lifted up as a hero. You know,
a hero so he basically kind of humanized the Joker a little bit. Is
Prince of Chaos.
Yeah. It's I get why people would be scared of that.
Yeah.
And our reaction is just take it away.
My problem is that anytime there's usually a trade there.
Not saying it's okay, but I get that mindset.
I think
as a parent,
I think there's always a trade-off there, though, because usually you when you select for safety, you sacrifice a little freedom.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And so there's kind of this line you got to walk there. With this film, like I get sort of the fear and the Joker. My take on it, my interpretation of it is I looked at that film as almost like a reverse creation myth, where like let's take the story. I'm gonna take 2 examples from the Bible and liken it to this. Okay, nice. So in the beginning, you've got like chaos, you've got nothing, disorder, and then God orders the chaos into, and establishes order. In this film, it starts out with the world that's already decaying. There's trash piling up. There's a guy holding a sign that says everything must go. I mean, that's a pretty biblical speak to me, with holding up that sign. And so you've got this world that's already kind of decaying, and but rather than but there's still some order in place.
Right.
And then you take this all the way at the end of the arc, is that it takes that order and then it creates complete disorder and chaos. It's like a
and
reverse.
It takes that last little bit
and there's
pushes
no
them over.
And there's no redemptive factor in this, like it's just it ends with literally him as kind of this prince of chaos.
Yeah.
And I also looked at this as kind of like, all throughout stories, so let's take the Bible again. You've got the kind of the dueling brothers. You got Cain and Abel, right? Cain slays Abel, and then he establishes the first city. Okay. Well, look, in this movie, you got Joker and Batman, and they're kind of like the dueling brothers of sorts. In this, they even kind of hint that maybe they might be brothers.
Oh, so in my opinion, I think Thomas Wayne definitely covered it up, and that is his kid. Like I'm 100% convinced.
Which would make a lot of sense because, even in the Batman,
I mean, maybe I'm delusional, I like that spin on the story.
They always look like polar opposites. Like, in Heath's version, you complete me,
Right.
like they're opposite ends of the spectrum. But what's interesting in this is that you've got, it's almost the story told, but from like the Cain perspective.
Did you ever see Megamind?
Yeah.
You ever see Megamind?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. With the Brad Pitt superhero, and then he's the villain, but he was brought up to be, kind of the villain, so he's a victim of his circumstances versus
because he's weird looking.
Rich. Yeah. There's a kid's show that's like the same thing.
It's DreamWorks,
but it's actually pretty good. Will Ferrell's Megamind, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and the spider.
It has AC/DC songs. My kids love AC/DC because of that. Yeah, the spider in the eye.
That's funny. I remember that.
It is funny.
So one of the things I noticed in this is that also it was really attacking, because it says everything must go. It's attacking all of the hierarchies, and so you got he murders. It's totally class warfare. You look at he
kills
Batman's,
3 good upper class boys.
Right.
And Thomas Wayne comes out to defend him.
But what does he do? He pins it on saying how the losers effectively, this is their lot in life, And then Joker, he goes and he kills his mom. So it's like there goes the matriarchy, and then he kills his figurative dad, the talk show host, and there goes the patriarchy. It was like he's sitting there going after every hierarchy, and the whole what's interesting is it's got like this hint of absurdism in there, where he looks at it and he's looking at his life and he's like, my whole life is the joke. Interesting.
And that's in the trailer. Even he thought it was a tragedy, but it turns out it was a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
And I think that those are very closely tied together.
He talks about how subjective comedy is
at the beginning
of
the movie. He's doing the drama clowns with his fingers in his mouth. It's the laughing.
Let me ask you this. Did you guys find any parts of this film funny? Did you laugh in this film?
I laughed once, but I know I wasn't supposed to. Let me think when it was.
So I laughed as well, and there was many parts where there were people laughing in the film. I noticed that on Twitter there was some people that were saying like how there were people that were laughing in the theater, and they effectively found it like repulsive. Like how could anyone laugh through this?
They must be the Joker.
Yeah, some people walked out of my show.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
I think upset during the movie.
I think there's like kind of a fine line there between horror and comedy. Like, I think that a lot of times when people are laughing, they're not laughing because
they're laughing because they're uncomfortable.
Violence is...
So, when you watch The Office and Michael Scott does something, or oh wait, you haven't watched the...
I've watched a lot of it, and I'm yet to laugh. Okay, I'm waiting for that to happen.
No. Sometimes
you do at some point, you laugh,
to cover up how embarrassed you are for the character on the show.
Oh, I was wanting to laugh because it was really funny.
Anyways, just those type of... Okay, how about not Michael Scott? I don't even remember
Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, like you laugh because you're uncomfortable. It's like a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
I think you just nailed it. I think we laugh during horrors in the same reason why we laugh and cheer when we go on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Is that it's just a release.
Like,
and you're also kind of like cheering because you're not the one who's getting harmed.
It's your brain giving you the drugs, going, here's some adrenaline, here's some whatever, you're gonna love this, and you just kind of say, yeah. Like, I get it. I get the thrill. I play like horror games, like VR horror games. It's like the scariest shit in the world. Like, I'm like, dude, this is way too real. I played Resident Evil 7 in VR.
Oh,
I'm like, this feels too real to me, and I can do it, but I don't like to do it, but I love doing it.
Like those games, like Amnesia.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so what did you guys think of his last little bit with Robert De Niro before he kills him? When he tells that last joke, because everybody's freaking out, and he goes, "What do you knock knock?" Or what he goes, "So what do you get when you?" And it was all kind of scrambled. I didn't really hear it, but basically, what do you get when a guy gets forgotten by society and kicked to the curb? What you effing deserve, and then pulls the trigger.
Boom.
What was your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought on that moment, and it was kind of
especially in regards to kind of everything
it was influenced to the stuff that was leading up to that as well, because he mentions just flat out, like, so he gets on that television show, and this feels like almost like a Salem witch trial type thing, where it almost like he's going to be judged when he reveals himself for who he really is,
But do you think that's what he went on for?
No, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is that this film like subverts what you'd normally expect.
Right.
He gets there, and instead he starts gloating over the fact that he killed these 3 people.
And he
like
realizes,
he's
like,
openly confessing about it.
I think it's funny, and I want to be able to laugh about
and
it.
on top of that, he feels like he's the victim. I mean, this is a guy who's like the lowest of low in the society. He's getting robbed.
I mean, it straight up was self-defense
he was
on the
even,
train. It turned into something else, but it started as self-defense.
And he even gets thrown in the trash. Like, this is a guy that's no better than trash, right? And so
who has been invisible and never had a happy moment.
And he even says to them, like, you have no idea what it's like out there. You have any idea what these savages are like, And so from his viewpoint, like, he's the victim and that he's justified in these acts.
So I guess my question is, do you feel like it's a cop-out?
So when he gets to that moment and then he shoots him, man, it was interesting because, I mean, it's kind of the take that everybody is the hero of their own story, right? And like in his case, he thought that he was doing the good thing here. I mean, he's fighting against the corruption and plus there is maybe some sadistic.
I think he just thought it was funny.
He's also just
I think he loved
completely
the
damaged
joke
and broken.
Of finally killing somebody and going, wait, that was hilarious. I love this.
Dude, that scene at the end with Robert De Niro, like, it felt like you were really watching it, like, on TV. Like, it just felt gross. Have you ever seen, like, any nasty video on the internet that you wish
I've seen
you had
all
never
like
seen?
those ISIS beheading videos.
Exactly. Like, I remember seeing this guy who, like, some politician who was caught up in this scandal, and he shoots himself on live TV. And I'm just like, that's like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I'll never forget that. And this movie did tap into that a little bit, and it made it.
It had some realism to it.
It felt so real, and just the conditions. Like, I think I'm going to remember a lot of the violence in this movie, for good or bad. Like, it did hit a nerve. So I get why people walked out of it.
So what do you think the real issue is? Like, what do you think the statement was that everybody was so scared of? Do you think it was violence, or do you think it was a larger issue?
I think it was just the promoting
mental.
I think it's
like
both. I think it's kind of here's a guy that's subverting all of the hierarchy structures. It's kind of this reverse creation myth. It's all about chaos, and then on top of that, you've got this issue of mental health. You've got a guy who's
fallen through the cracks, which is what happens every day.
I mean, he's even he's struggling in every way. He's openly admitting that he's struggling. He's visiting the counselor. They end up pulling the funding from the place, and he can't even get his meds.
You know what's crazy about the Joker is, think about The Dark Knight Rises. He's like a character who turns, like, his goal is to turn someone into, like, push them to that point. You know, just like what happens in this movie. Just how much of that can you take until you
get pushed
too far? Exactly.
Well, and I think that was a lot of the fear here, is that people thought they were going to identify with the Joker. They're going to see themselves in him. He's a guy that's been an outcast.
And no one's helped me. I'm invisible.
And look at him as some sort of like hero.
Again, I wanted to freak you guys out a little bit after you guys had said you'd seen it. I sent you that text that, do you guys keep a joke book? It's like, do you have a joke book?
Yes.
I was going to like be all creepy weird with it, but
and then it turns out we all had a joke book.
I'm glad you had a joke book. It's not that weird, you know. But at the same time, I watched the movie and I'm like, man, I have a joke book. And I opened it up. I'm like, if someone else found it and just like read through it, would it be weird to them?
Would they think?
And I was kind of reading, and I'm like, man,
you know what's
crazy.
kind of interesting too to think about this film is that it kind of enacts the carnival, and carnival from the old times when people would go and like Mardi Gras type stuff, and they would wear the masks and they would conceal their identity, and for a certain time they can do whatever they want. They were just liberated, and in this film, like, they put on the Joker mask, and then they feel almost like this release, this ability to just be who they were.
Kind of act out.
It's actually
against the man.
And actually kind of works great for this time of year with Halloween. I mean, Halloween I look at as the same way, is that people for this moment, this one night, they get a kind of almost
they get to take off the mask.
It's actually weird.
A little bit more human.
If you want to analyze a little bit, like, I almost think you get a little window into people's like what bubbles underneath.
Right. It's like I said, we're taking off this mask.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a quote by Oscar Wilde. It's man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell you the truth.
Ooh.
And it's kind of like, like the Joker was finally able to tap into that like primal, like violent nature that, a lot of you subvert, because of society. We're all a bunch of rock men, just wanting to break something, kill something, smash something with stick, boom, boom,
Yes.
It's
like, and Joker was able to call out like this darkness that's within everybody and bring it to the surface. And I think that's what people are terrified of.
Yeah, and again, I get why people are scared of it, because you know what?
It's eerie.
I can see enough of that madness in myself to know, oh man, there's some roads that I don't want to go down in my own head. You know? Like, that's no good.
But I also think that by suppressing it, you also...
But it's great to know that it's there, and it's not necessarily like other people can have, think certain ways, and it doesn't mean that they're a psychotic killer. Right?
Yeah, it's that next step.
I think too, there's a real discussion we could have talked about on this film with like just mental health, and the media just missed it. I mean, how much of the structural foundations of our society actually create jokers because of just the
Mexican
situation
Joker.
that they're in. Like it plays to a very everything is set up to where you got to fit sort of a certain mold, and if you're on one of the outliers, they don't know how best to fit you in, and so you get people that fall through the cracks. A lot of the homeless people.
Think about being a kid and cleaning. You don't want to deal with it. What do? You push it under the bed. You sweep it under the rug. You get it out of sight as quick as possible.
I think we figured out one of the subjects that people care about shootings, like mass shootings, with.
But
when it comes to our movies, right? It's like you get scared of that happening because I
think that all started because of The Matrix and Columbine.
Dude, I watched The Matrix last night.
It still holds up.
Yeah, dude, it's so sweet. I watched it with my older kids. I'm like, no one can tell you what The Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
It's true.
They loved it. My younger one, she's like 8. she said she liked it, but she didn't really get it. Like some of the concepts were maybe a little too crazy for her.
She's not ready to wake up yet.
But the special effects, yeah, exactly.
She's still stuck in the Matrix.
No, I think when he reaches for the red pill, she's like, "Oh no, don't take that one." She's like, "No, take the blue pill." Like, yeah.
That's funny.
Well,
my kids loved it.
I think that after the Columbine shooting, there was this moral panic. Like, how has media influenced everybody? And that's still, anytime there's a big shooting, there's a call for gun control and removal of all guns. You got Beto, who's like, hell yes, we're going to take your guns.
Get rid of every guns.
And then you've got the people that shout like, this is a mental health crisis. There's a lot of people severely damaged out there. And a lot of these shooters are really damaged individuals. And so, man, once again, we kind of missed.
It's hard not. Yeah, nuance. It's a very easy, hole to fall down into, a rabbit hole and go. But I think that's the piece, and they're scared of it because nobody wants to think about that, right? All the dark, scary things in the world we want to push just outside of our world and exist and be happy and ignorant.
There's a Stephen King book that's banned, but it's kind of self-banned. He took it off the shelf. I guess it still gets sold in paperback collections, but it doesn't get sold as its own thing anymore. And it's a Richard Bachman book. It's called Rage, and it's a school shooting book. Yeah. And it's nothing special, but it kind of introduces a lot of those, questioning society. It's about this shooter goes into his class, shoots a bunch of kids, shoots some, I think he shoots a teacher. I can't even remember. But then he starts to turn the kids to his way of thinking. That's what the whole book is him getting people to realize that society's broken. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I just did this so that we could kind of have this opportunity to talk. And it's really weird.
Dude, by the way, I watched In the Tall Grass.
In the Tall Grass.
That Stephen King on Netflix movie.
Netflix.
It was okay.
One other thing I wanted to mention with the Joker.
Yeah, I got some questions for you after this about the Joker. Go ahead.
What I find interesting about comedy, and I'm looking at this from the Joker standpoint, this archetypical, just chaotic madman, to find out what is in the domain of sacred in your society, look at what you can't laugh at. Okay. And I think that there is a tight correlation with the more you can laugh at stuff, the more free a society is. You look in places like Brazil where, man, there's comedians, stand-up comedy is just barely starting, and they're under serious pressure from the government to just keep their mouths shut. And I look at somebody like the Joker, this is a guy who even finds death comedic. Nothing is free game or off limits. And I think that that's a little bit dangerous in this sort of cancel culture, woke culture, where there's a lot of people that are getting canceled for things that they're saying. You've got you have to be able to only say what's in the realm of accepted speech.
Right.
That you can't have wrong think.
You can pot shot certain things, but there's other things you have to completely avoid joking about and laughing about.
You can't have wrong think. You can't make certain jokes. Right. And a person like Joker is no. Everything is just comedy. Yeah. All this crap is kind of worthless. Everything we can poke fun of, and why so serious?
Right. Let me ask you a question, both of you. What was the joke that the psychiatrist wouldn't get? Remember at the end of the movie? What do you think? There's been a lot of discussions about this. Do you have an opinion?
I would straight up mine's real quick. I would just straight up say that the movie, it's like he's playing the movie in his mind, and he gets to that end part, and that's where we catch up with him. Almost like he was the narrator.
So this has all happened, and he's reliving the moments.
Yeah, and he's just reliving the movie in his mind. That makes the most sense to me as a viewer.
That was actually how I interpreted it.
That it was him. Yeah. So I had a little different thought. So the song that's playing, he's mumbling.
Ambiguity, though.
Right? So the song is, the quote that he says is, "That's life, and as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks from stomping on a dream." Ooh. So a lot of people are really trying to dig deep. I don't think it's for me. I really didn't think it was anything more. I guess similar that he's kind of reliving those moments, but I think what everything became. He's laughing at the anarchy of it all. Mm-hmm. He's laughing at the fact that Thomas and Martha Wayne were shot and killed. His supposed father, whether or not, and I don't think he was dad for real. I think she was crazy, and I like the story of the father and the abuse. I guess I don't like it, but I thought that was a better part, better storytelling.
Again, my like storyteller mind, like I want that to make sense. I want that connection to be there so bad
because it could be again fun.
Like I said, I'm like my delusion, my
there is
story consuming brain wants
the connected
universe. That connection.
Yeah.
There is something to be said, though, about...
I do like it not being that. Like, the idea of the, most heroes are formed when they find out that they were, their father was a god. Their father was this important guy. And this guy, he wants to have his story be a hero story so bad that he's
Does he, though?
Well, again, he wants to be happy.
Because let me ask you another question.
And for Thomas Wayne to not be his father, it's like...
Yeah, good point. How much
what actually happened in that movie? How much was fake? How much was real?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, I remember there were a few scenes where it's like, it did replay like a moment, and it's like, oh, maybe that scene that happened before didn't really happen.
When he goes in that chick's apartment the second time, the final time,
yeah,
I remember when we were watching it, it said, I think it was like 2B on her apartment, and then the second time it was different. The number had changed, and I was like, wait, what the hell happened? And I just thought it was some stupid accidental mix-up, and then there's that reveal that none of that had happened, and then you got to think, was every happy moment or every time somebody nice to him fake?
Perhaps.
What was real? What was fake?
He was on a lot of pills,
dude.
Yeah.
This living in dreamland.
What did we see that was real in that movie?
Man,
maybe just the part when he killed him at the end.
Dude,
yeah, right.
The scene where his clown friends come to his house.
Yeah,
damn, dude.
Rough.
Like that's the one that I think, again, besides the Robert De Niro part right at the end, that part was just holy shit moment. Like,
yeah, that was some beauty.
But I mean, that scene's revealing in my mind, man. Because I mean that shows once again.
I laughed at that part when I realized that the little dwarf guy would have
to. He couldn't.
Yeah, when he jumped up. Yep, that was it. Yep, I laughed at that too. A bunch of people did.
So there you go.
We're like, oh, poor guy.
It's like, oh
he's
man.
too short.
But again, it was almost like an Office moment. Like I was so embarrassed for both of them that they had to address that situation.
I thought that scene was really revealing in the sense that, I mean, it shows that the Joker really identifies with the victim. Mm-hmm. He thinks of himself as a victim, and that when he saved him, he left that.
He said,
guy
"You were always nice to me.
You were always nice to me," and he knows that he got bullied as well.
Yeah, he kind of relates.
Again, it's
to him,
like what's that Shyamalan movie?
The Sixth Sense.
The damage,
but it's the happening.
Girl. Jeez, man.
It's a
Last Airbender.
Glass.
No, you're thinking of
Split.
No, you're thinking of After Earth. After Earth.
Split.
Where they can't have fear, right? Because the monsters can smell fear. That's what you were thinking of.
It makes you wonder, though, like, is there harm in humanizing the villain? I mean, there for a long time.
If you can't.
For a long time, there was. Christopher Nolan said that that's why he left out the history of the Joker in his films. There's no backstory. And every time he talks about his scars, it's a different story. Mm-hmm. It's because Nolan said he didn't want to humanize the Joker. And
that was a long time ago. We're much more down the toilet now, dude. We want humanized supervillains. Who's your best Joker? Who's the guy? Nicholson? Leto?
Growing up, it was always Nicholson. Uh-huh. Always Nicholson. But you think about...
Compared to who? Like the dude from the Batman and the Adam West Batman and Robin?
What's his name? Cesar Romero?
Yeah.
Did you ever see his painted-on mustache?
Oh, it's the best. I love the original Batman movie. I watched it with the kids not too long ago, and they hated it.
But I want to say Jack Nicholson, but I love Jack Nicholson as an actor. Again, he's one of my favorites. But I mean, when you think about the Joker in the old Cesar Romero, he's more the kind of jester type.
Dude, I'll throw Mark Hamill's Joker in there as well.
Yeah, no, he's good too.
Who's your favorite Joker?
It's like Jack Nicholson was all about like greed. kind of a capitalist greed, kind of the whole money. He's the gangster, he's the whatever, which Jared Leto's version was, I think, would have been better had he not added that weird whatever he added to it, but the idea of kind of that greedy gangster.
It was all the makeup that ruined that.
It's all the tattoos and the silver teeth.
Yeah. Did you see how he's throwing shade?
Yeah, he was
this film.
Everybody, I wish I was a little upset. It's like, well, don't be crappy when you get a call back. Sorry, bro. Okay.
But yeah.
So are you going with Nicholson?
I want to go Nicholson, but I think I'm going to say Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger for me too,
Heath Ledger
without a
is
doubt.
So dang good, and he just blows away. But
this performance, I think, was a better performance.
It was great. Like, this movie, I would say,
in the sense that, I mean, there's more screen time. There's way more range as an actor. Like, I think that it was.
I would say it's the best version of the Joker as a character.
So,
like, I really like the way
Joaquin versus
develops.
Heath. Mm-hmm. Joaquin, I mean, when Joaquin's trying not to laugh and you can see that he's physically in pain.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible actor. But I think people forget watching Heath Ledger as the Joker for the first 10 seconds. You're like, holy crap. We knew how crazy Joaquin was going to be walking into that movie.
Mm-hmm. He's got like the lizard tongue.
Yeah,
he's always
nobody realized what Heath Ledger was going to be because they kept it super under wraps. They didn't even show him in a lot of the promotional material.
And so
he's just a slithery guy.
But I'm not trying to sway you guys. Like, for me it was Heath Ledger, and it wasn't. Amazing. When I started Dark Knight, right after we got out of Joker, we went home that night and I started watching The Dark Knight with the kids, and it was the opening scene with Joker in the bank, and I was like, this is my Joker.
And again, they made him as the best role in a villainous position, where he is straight up, no ambiguity. He is a bad guy,
So Heath, is that what you said?
Heath is the most memorable and the best. I think that Joaquin was probably a little bit better when it came to acting, but that doesn't mean it's the most memorable.
It wasn't a Batman movie.
Right. So let me ask you, do you want to see Joaquin fight Batman?
No, yeah, I do.
Absolutely not.
Me either. I don't want...
Unless it's
the Joker's an amazing movie.
If he's just beating up
Batman.
Bruce Wayne as a small child, just beating a little kid, I would watch that.
Weird.
I'm going to step back a little bit. I want to see that pending how this new Batman film comes out.
If I see an aged Joaquin Phoenix fighting Robert Pattinson, I'm gonna get upset.
Hold on though. I mean, everybody lost their shit. Same with Heath, saying that Heath, and for a lot of the same reasons,
right?
Where they were like, Heath, this, you literally just said it. You're like, oh, the guy from The Knight's Tale, blah blah blah. And so I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit. My gut tells me that that's a bad casting choice, but we'll see.
I think that, again, how I was saying it was a bad thing that I want to make that connection. I think it's a bad thing that we all constantly want to make connections now. Like with
the
movies.
Connected universe.
It's like, OMG, connected universe. Does this mean? And I think that that's just such a...
Sure. It's good as a standalone thing.
Yeah. It needs to be a standalone thing. Like, that Joker... He's not brilliant. He's just crazy.
I mean, if
it's like fighting a rabid dog.
Again, kind of like
punch him.
Kind of like what we were talking about with Breaking Bad, which similar villain. He's a bad guy. Everyone has a little bit of ultimate villain in them, and you just need the right push. But anyways, with El Camino, that movie didn't need to be made. No. That Netflix film. Right?
Yeah, no,
like, it was good.
Great.
It was awesome. Like I liked. It was like a cool episode of the show. I'm like, okay, that was neat.
So
but I didn't need to see it.
Joaquin v. Pattinson does not need to be made.
Yeah, if they make that, I'll see it because it's a Batman movie.
Right.
But I'm going to be a little upset.
What if? So Todd Phillips has said since that he doesn't envision Joaquin fighting Batman either, but that his Joker could inspire the Joker, the Joker. So that the Joker exists and
as
Joaquin
a result of Joker
takes the mantle or gives the mantle of the Joker, or the other Joker comes in and takes the mantle of the Joker, and he's a little bit more brilliant and a little bit more...
So Arthur one of Fleck the clowns who, Arthur Fleck is like
the symbol, the Batman symbol.
He's a prophet in their clown religion.
He's the anti-symbol. Yeah. But I mean, you think even as Arthur Fleck, everybody knows who he is. So it's like, what's he gonna do?
Isn't it weird that Arthur Fleck is like Affleck? Like if you did just the first initial and Arthur Fleck, Affleck.
And
Affleck was Batman.
Yeah.
Isn't that a weird thing to do? Like right after he said he was stepping away from the Batman universe.
What's a weird thing to do?
Name your character Arthur Fleck.
I think that was an original name from the comics.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was all original story stuff, which is weird. So,
and this movie was probably in production when Ben Affleck's Batman was going to still exist.
Ben was always out. You could tell in the Justice League. He was so dumb.
the sad interview. Like,
yeah, he's just like, I hate this.
Dude, he looks so sad.
Do you guys want to see a Joker sequel?
No.
Honestly.
Probably not a sequel.
Me either. I get weird about movies. I love... Because we grew up without a lot of sequels to like certain things. So it's like, when I love something this much, like A Quiet Place...
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we talked about how we don't want a sequel. I mean, we're going to see it still.
Yeah, I'm going to see it.
We have to see it, but I don't want a sequel. I don't want a sequel to the Joker. I want this to exist exactly as it exists.
It's like, you know,
it didn't need any more.
When you get a comic book that's kind of just like a little contained story in several issues, you know, combined into one little, you know, softback collection, but it's like just one story. Like, what if, you know, Wolverine existed in the DC universe? I know there's these weird comics that's like the Looney Tunes who are like teaming up with DC heroes. Like Daffy Duck teams up with like Batman.
What? Anyways, I was reading something, so I didn't hear the first part of this. I'm so lost right now.
There's these comic books where the Looney Tunes are like team up with like DC heroes.
Are you wanting the Looney Tunes to team up with Joaquin's Joker?
No. I'm saying I love that those exist. But they don't need to exist alongside everything else.
Yeah, it can just be some silly other...
It can just be, you know, Marvel Zombies, right? Yeah, there's this DC Batman as a Dracula, like a Dracula story with Batman characters.
Yeah, there's all those zombie Marvel stuff
those are awesome, and they don't need more things. They don't need to connect.
It can just be a small little short series. Yeah, Deadpool, there's a short series where Deadpool kills the entire Marvel universe.
Exactly.
And that's it. And it was great. It's over and you're done. The Killing Joke, right there, you're done. It's amazing.
Like... I really like that DC's kind of push in that direction where crap isn't going to be connected anymore. Dude, I'm getting to the point where I love that Marvel exists. I'm going to see every goddamn Marvel movie that comes out. But it's like there's so many connections that when I tell somebody who hasn't seen any Marvel movies, there are those people who exist.
What a douche.
And you say, dude, like you know the part with Thor and Captain, and they're like, dude, I haven't seen any Marvel movies. You're like, well, where to start? Go to the very beginning. But then they're like, but I want to watch like Thor Ragnarok. But I can't watch that movie if I haven't seen everything else. You get that.
Yeah.
And it's really stupid.
Well, it's like jumping into a series. You can't watch Supernatural season 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're going to be like, why does this dude in a trench coat exist? Why does Castiel in this show at all?
But you can jump in the middle of like South Park. It's been going on forever.
That's true. You can just. I mean, I haven't seen South Park in 15 years. Honestly,
you should. It's still,
and I mean, I know there's all this China drama.
Still relevant. You know, I mean, look.
Well, yeah, look how relevant it is. So I've been following the NBA side of things.
Real quick, are we wrapping up Joker?
Yeah. Joker.
So we should give our Shyamalans
7.
Shyamalans and closing statements.
7 Shyamalans. I think this out of 7.
Out of 7.
I think that's been our rating system thus far is 7 Shyamalans. Or of 7. So 7 Shyamalans out of 7 Shyamalans. This movie will not win Best Picture. It should be nominated for Best Picture. I do not want to see a sequel. I don't want to see Joaquin fighting Batman or anything else. I want it to exist as the Joker, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I give it a 7 also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say 7. Like, again, I've got a lot to say about the movie, about maybe young kids shouldn't be seeing it. You know, you want to be you want to be careful.
Agree.
It's again when people are freaking out over Deadpool. Oh my God, taking kids to see Deadpool. It's like at least this one has that people seem to know better than to be taking kids to go see Joker, but that people still are.
There's some psychos.
I think the moral
That being said, it's important to see. And I think once a kid is a certain age, this kind of film, and I'm going to call it a film because that's what it is. It's cinema. It's cinema.
It's cinema.
But it's great. And the message is
I think the fact that it caused a moral panic
Yeah,
shows that it was
exactly.
touching on issues that
are real.
That are real.
People don't like when their emotional, Pandora's box gets fingered.
Yeah.
That's
a great way to describe it.
Not like this.